Hey guys, welcome to Wealth Wisdom Financial Podcast and YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel and just share your love. We really want to help you break through to a smart, stable financial future. And it's not just by the amazing stuff that we do, right? We really want to make sure that you are in a really good place financially, no matter what's happening with inflation, with the world, with who knows what's going to happen tomorrow, like aliens, who knows, like all kinds of other areas. And today I get the pleasure of interviewing Scott Royal Smith. And he does something that I think is very important. Again, something that we tend to avoid, like insurance. As you guys know, we do life insurance and those kind of things. And it's one of those things that we want to not really talk about or not really deal with. But he is a real estate investor, not just someone who talks about it, but he is actually an investor himself and an asset protection attorney. Scott became an entrepreneur. Again, we love him because he's an entrepreneur while still in law school, purchasing and running an auto mechanic shop to pay his way through school. After graduating, Scott began his law career as a high-stakes corporate litigator. He spent the last 10 years of his career analyzing real estate investments and asset protection. Today, Scott is the founder and CEO of Royal Legal Solutions, a firm he built to offer tax, business, and legal strategies to clients all over the U.S. and Canada. And he continues to educate the public on asset protection strategies to help circumvent debilitating lawsuits for his clients. Now, you guys might think that's not going to be me, that I'm not going to be the one dealing with the lawsuit or any of that. What Scott's going to show some of the statistics actually of how we need to make sure that we are protected, because honestly, there are lots of bad people out there, or people who just want to make a quick buck and think that they can do it because they don't think you're prepared. So welcome, Scott, to Wealth Wisdom Financial Channel.
Oh yeah, it's great to be here, man. I always love coming on and talking about asset protection, and especially how that relates to insurance. Because a lot of people I know, especially business owners and investors, they think well, I'm an honest person and I'm well insured. Isn't that enough? Right. And the reality is that when it comes to litigation, everybody lies about you. And when claims get really, really big, right, from my experience in suing insurance companies professionally for a few years, that you run into problems. Insurance companies are profit-seeking corporations. So their business model is built on this concept of collecting premiums and denying coverage. And I used to sue them when they would overstep those bounds. And what we found out and what was important in asset protection is there was a friend of mine who ended up losing over $3 million in real estate because he was very well insured. But what he didn't realize is that insurance protects you from accidents. It doesn't protect you from all risks. So he got sued from a deal that he was doing in his personal name, and he ended up losing out big, when if he would just have a single LLC in place, he would have been fully protected. So I love this conversation. I can't wait to get into it and see where are these lines, and when do we rely on insurance? When do we rely on asset protection? How do we do that efficiently and effectively? It's going to be fun.
I think, again, thinking about not all insurance is bad. You want to make sure that you're doing the right things. I'm a big proponent in properly designed whole life insurance, right? Because the chances of you dying are pretty high. And how do you leave a legacy to your heirs tax-free is a great thing to think through, and access to capital on a lower cost rate. I'm not a State Farm agent or any of that, and property and casualty, they all have their places, right? But I've also been in a place where, I had a flood in my basement and insurance didn't cover it because it was an act of God or something. I don't know, something weird that's in the terms. And you're like, wait, I'm paying insurance. I'm paying for this. I thought that's going to cover it, but it doesn't. And a lot of times we think we know, but we also don't read the full contract. And that's what I love about law.
Who reads all this stuff all the time? You know what I mean? I was like, who can read it and tell you about it? I've never talked to anybody that was like, hey, what is inside of your insurance? What are the exclusions you have to your property insurance? Right? They're like, I don't know. I read that once a year ago, and then maybe I know. And the methodology I think about it is not things being good or bad. I don't think in terms of absolutes. What I always think about is terms of efficiencies, right? In my world, Brandon, the way that we look at insurance and the wealth building side of things is that we say, well, insurance is always your best, cheapest first line of defense. right?
Yep.
There's nothing that protects you against more things for less money and has other people handling problems for you than insurance, right? So we say, great. The game here to play then is to be very well insured. Typically what you're looking for in my world is say, great, what we're going to do is we're going to find great umbrella policies between 1 and 5 million of total coverage, which hedges out against like all kinds of risks for millions and millions of dollars. And then we get the minimum amount of coverage that we need for that umbrella policy to be able to kick in. It says, great, now I have like the minimum policies I need. I got huge override coverage in case something really bad happens. But we say, well, once we're there, we're 90%. We believe we're 90% on the way to being protected from lawsuits, right? But that's the place that most people stop. And what I'm always beating the drum on is saying, why did we stop there? And I think the reason why we stopped is because we got scared. We got scared about the fact of saying like, well, how much is it going to cost me to put LLC protections in place to get to 100% protection? How difficult is that to manage? All of those pieces, they say, well, we don't really know what to do next, so I'm going to do nothing. And what I see is when people stop short because they get scared or they get confused or like, I'm not sure. What that really means is, great, you're really leaving money on the table in a deal, just like you're leaving money on the table and making like the appropriate investments into protection. That's like my friend I was telling you the story of, that lost $3 million from a single lawsuit. Like his story is, if he would have spent just $1,500 on structuring a proper LLC, he would have said, well, great, even though my insurance company didn't protect me here, because now I understand that like if anybody makes an allegation that I lied to them or it's a breach of contract issue, my insurance never covers off on those. Well, even having one LLC in place would have said, well, great. Well, they could have sued him, but they couldn't have gotten to his assets. And that's where he made the critical mistake. And that's why I'm a big advocate of saying, well, let's move from a 90% to 100% protected. How do we do that? We get great insurance. We get umbrella policies. That gets us to 90. Then we do some simple LLC structuring that closes that gap. And then we structure those LLCs to be streamlined for taxes, easy to operate, and easy for the maintenance. That way nothing in the entrepreneur's life changes. Because the last thing he wants as an entrepreneur is like another headache of what to do. And then you can get up to 100% protected. And it's phenomenal because you get to the place where you can rest easy at night. You're knowing that like, if I ever get sued, I don't even care. And I think that's where I see people really turn the corner in their businesses, because more of their energy is focused on the things that nobody else can do for them, which is making money. And there's not the time wasted on administration, operational things. They're like, that's just like the headaches. Outsource the headaches and focus in more, but do it in the right way. And then you're following best practices for wealth creation. At least what I've seen over the last 9 years, working with about 2,000 clients in all 50 states.
I think what you're mentioning too, and people are chasing like the rate of return, right? How do I get a quick deal, make a lot of money, thinking that it's going to be great? Usually, if they're going after that, that's when the problems happen, right? Because they're buying a fix and flip that I got it for 20,000, but it's whatever. Who knows? All kinds of crazy stuff that happens, and they don't build a solid foundation. And that's why I love about setting up the foundations in the proper LLC structure. Proper savings, right? Building your contingency capital.
You'd be shocked about how effective it really is, right? So I had to think about a lawsuit a month from the structures that we put together, because all the structures I put in place, once I defend, I'm a litigator just as much as I am as an entrepreneur and a wealth advisor, an investor, et cetera. Yeah. And one things that we found was that like the structures you're able to put in place when done properly, right? I had a client of mine who was doing fix and flips, right? Yeah. And so we said, well, great. What we're going to do is we're going to compartmentalize every asset. So that way, if there's a lawsuit against any one of the assets, they can't come after any of the other assets. So when we sold the flip out of she was using a series LLC because she wanted to be able to scale infinitely with no additional cost, which is what the series LLC allows you to do. Basically, you get to create free LLCs on your desktop, no filing fees. It's really, really cool. Right. But the advantages of doing that and using structures like that is like once you sell an asset out of it, there's nothing left in that entity. So when they came back and were like, hey, we're upset because some of the plumbing, what's happened to some of the plumbing in the house and it cost $75,000 of damage to the house and yada, yada, yada. But that lawsuit ended up getting totally dropped. Why did it get dropped? Is because as the LLC protections that were in place, we sold the asset out of a single entity that was compartmentalized, had no other assets. Mm-hmm. So if they tried to sue that entity, there's nothing there to take. All the cash was already distributed out from the sale of that asset. And then they were like, well, we'll come after her personally. I was like, well, you can't, because she was using what we call an operating LLC, which is essentially an LLC that doesn't own anything, but it does everything. And so what that means is when they try to sue her personally, it's like, well, you can't, because all of her emails and communications all came from emails that were associated with the LLC. So the worst you can do is sue that other LLC. So at the end of the day, they dropped a lawsuit. not because they were wrong on the facts, not because any other reason besides merely the structures that were put in place said there's no money here to come after. No matter what way you try to sue us, you're always going to end up coming after an LLC that doesn't have any assets or has a minimal amount of assets. And that's all you have to do to win lawsuits, is make it a bad business decision for people to sue you. And the way you do that is compartmentalizing all the assets and hiding them using trust structures to remove your name off the public record. So that way it looks like if anybody wants to sue you, that you qualify for food stamps. Say, great, my insurance is going to cover me. If my insurance doesn't cover me, then all my assets and all my companies are hidden so people can't find out what I have to know that I'm a target for a lawsuit. Because if you own stuff in your personal name, guess what? You are a target for a lawsuit. They can find out everything you own and they're going to sue you immediately because you look like a great, ripe, juicy piece of steak to them. And then they say, well, even if they were to find out about the assets, now we have LLC structures put in place to be able to say, hey, you're going to get little to nothing if you decide to spend all of this money suing. And the net effect is that the protection of just the infrastructure, that castle of protection, feels so strong to anybody coming after you that they just stop the lawsuit. They say, hey, this is going to be way more expensive and way more time consuming. Let's just go sue the next person. And that's all you got to do. You ever heard that joke about like, you don't have to be the fastest person when you're getting chased by a bear. You just have to make sure you're not the slowest. And like, it's the same thing. Just be harder than the next guy and they'll go sue somebody else, right? Because that's really the nature and the business of these lawsuits, which are actually going to increase as the recession kicks in because people are going to have less. So what do? Is they sue more. So you have to get in place proactively. But once you are, you can know that like, man, ain't nobody trying to come after you after that.
Yeah, I was hearing that earlier today, even that there's going to be a lot more people, fraud alerts, and more fraud is going to happen and different things like that, just because of recession and different things. And my question a lot of times is they're starting out like, and I see a lot of people now in real estate, everybody thinks it's going to be a quick win and I'm going to make a lot of money, or they're in crypto or, whatever. What do you do for people who are just starting out, and how do you help them to not just go after, I want to like have 10 houses and do all this? How do you help them start slow to know, hey, you're going to build this foundation and then make other steps? Because I even look at myself, we're buying a real estate property, personally owned, but it's not where we're going to stop. We're going to do some of those other steps along the way, but we have to be almost forward thinking a bit. How do you help people forward think enough, but also looking where they're not trying to be 10 steps ahead and taking the right step now? Does that make sense?
Yep, 100%. So I think the crux of the issue comes down to this saying is like, how do you get like a game plan for wherever we're at now of like, where are you going to go next? And like, what's appropriate for you at the level that you're at now? One of the things I found out from working with 2,000 clients in all 50 states over the last decade or so has been that no matter what level of wealth or business sophistication you're at, there is always a consolidation and then a new plan, right? There's no such thing as like, oh, I'm all the way built out for forever. Now, there's really critical pieces that you can have to make it easier to scale, like using series LLC structures that allow you to compartmentalize all your assets for free and creating anonymity and ownership in those. But what you should know is that every person has an appropriate step, right? So if you have nothing right now and you're just starting like off in your journey, you have no assets, then you just need a single LLC to be able to protect you personally, right? You should do all your business through LLC and it shouldn't own any assets. And that LLC then will be taking all the money, sending the emails, signing contracts, and you're building business credit, but you're protecting yourself at the same time, right? Because if somebody sues you and you're doing business in your personal name, it kills your credit score. So cool, I'll put an LLC in place, I'll protect my credit score, and I'll build a secondary business line of credit, which now gives me additional liquidity. Second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a completely separate LLC, probably a series LLC if you're smart, to be able to hold all of my assets. I'm going to create that anonymously so people can't find out what are my asset holding companies and where are they located, right? I'm going to form that through a law firm so that way anything associated with those entities is further protected by the attorney-client privilege. And I say, great, now with that series LLC, I can compartmentalize all my business assets and all of my personal assets in one structure with one bank account, one EIN number, and one set of accounting books with it, as long as I tag the income and expenses for each of the individual subsidiary child series appropriately. So now what do I have? Well, now I got an operating company that I operate through that doesn't own anything, right? But it does everything. It's protecting me personally, and it's also building my business line of credit. And now I have an asset holding company that I can expand to hold all of my business assets, whether those are websites, branding materials, whether they're going to be cars, houses, bank accounts, brokerages, syndication investments, real estate, doesn't matter. Can hold everything that you want to do there. And you say, well, that would be my next step, as I want to have that. Now, after you have those two pieces in place, all of the infrastructure that you build is almost always tax related, right? Because really all you need is two companies, one traditional LLC to be your operating company, one series structure to be able to hold all of your assets because it's infinitely scalable for free. You don't need to create and pay for all these LLCs and all of the headaches and all of the costs are associated there. No, just do a series LLC. It's way simpler. It gives you all the same protection when formed appropriately. And then that gets you your foundations for what you need to be able to then say, well, great, once I start making money, now I'm going to start working with strategic investment and strategic tax advisory, proactive tax advisory, so I can correct the course of the ship throughout the year. Most people wait till the end of the year. Everything's already too late. You got to be proactive about your taxes and proactive about your asset protection if it works. But there's an appropriate level for everybody. And so whether people already have stuff that's existing and put in place, whether like, hey, I have everything in my personal name and I realize now that I'm just totally exposed and that there's like appropriate steps I can take. My recommendation is always, you can clean up anything and you can always get started with wherever you're at, with wherever you can afford. But wealthy people do things the right way. And the right way is whatever's appropriate for you, whatever level you're at. And you just start there. Even if you can't afford all of the things that I've been talking about, that's fine. Get something in place with the right strategic advice, because this stuff builds like Lego blocks. So if you can get the right foundation set, you just start tacking together more of the pieces of the Lego blocks over time. And working with a company that's like mine with Royal Legal Solutions, what I've designed it is to be that way. So that way we are the one-stop shop. That's the last relationship you'll need to be able to cover off on everything you have going on from your tax side and your asset protection and your estate planning, et cetera.
Well, how important is it? Like, some of the stats on people being sued in real estate and all of that. How important is it for somebody to set this kind of thing up?
So the issue is that a single lawsuit can completely wipe you out. It's an unlimited amount of money somebody can sue you for whenever it comes into any lawsuit here in the U.S. So when you talk about the probabilities of a major lawsuit, you're talking about over a 90% chance over the course of 20 years that if you're involved in business and real estate, you're going to be facing a major lawsuit, right, that comes with it. One that you're going to have to fight off. You don't know when it's going to happen, right? You just know statistically it will happen. And then the question is what position you're going to be in. And what we know is that people that have assets inside of their personal name are the ones that are the most exposed to it, right? And that's the very first thing that we look at, is saying, well, the only smart way to operate is the way that wealthy people operate, which is they don't own anything, but they control everything. So they own a yacht, that yacht's part of an LLC. They own real estate, that real estate's part of an LLC. What do we learn from them? Which is life is great if it continues to improve. Life continues to go up and to the right, just like we'd say like the stock market, right? If it's going up and to the right, we're happy into it. Well, how do you do that? You have to make sure that you don't have major downsides that come up. So one, insurance, great for that, right? Two, though, is to really bring you to that 100% of like, no, I'm going to be okay and rest easy at night, not even care about lawsuits happening. And as I say, great. That's when you need that asset protection in place. And then you just put in place whatever you can afford, because eventually it's going to happen. And when it does happen, if you're not protected, it's rated as like one of the top 3 worst things that can happen to you in your life is facing a major lawsuit, because everything in your life shuts down. And the only thing you can think about is this attack that, if successful, wipes out all of your hard work. Everything that you've worked so hard to build gets wiped out like that. And there ain't nothing you can do about it.
And I think that what you mentioned is we all want the market to be up and to the right. But the problem is the market doesn't always go up and to the right. There's a thing called volatility. And we're seeing this right now where people are like, I thought it was going to go up and to the right forever. And that straight line projection doesn't work. And what you just mentioned is volatility will happen. We don't know when it's going to happen, but it will happen. And how do you protect against that? That's why insurance, and why I love the infinite banking concept, is because I know it will be up and to the right, because they've kind of priced in volatility and we kind of prep for it a bit.
Well, let me ask you this, Brandon, because it's a funny concept to me, right? Because why is it that the wealthy people always seem to do well? It doesn't matter whether it's a good economy or bad economy. It doesn't matter. They don't care. Right? And that was one of the fundamental questions when I started studying wealthy people or people that had built wealth from the ground up. It's like, what was different about what they did versus the way that I was doing it at the time and the way the people around me were doing it? Is that what I found out is that wealthy people, one, they follow best practices over anything else. They will die to follow a best practice and systems that streamline and integrate together. And then they use professionals appropriately. They still learn themselves, right? They still have a high belief that they need to understand it, but they don't need to go do it. And then the last thing that they really focused on, which I found like was exceptionally important into this, is that they knew how to win before the game started. And so what they did is they would say, I'm going to take consistent wins over time by making sure that I'm building in safety around every corner. So inside of like the protection game, right? That's like, hey, we want insurance, life insurance, property casualty insurance, business insurance, et cetera. Hedge off against all those cash flow kinds of risks of bad things that can happen that can really impact my cash flows, right? Cool. I want liability protection. So I want insurance from like all the slip and falls on my property that could happen, slip and falls inside of my business. What's going to happen to me if I'm sued for any of my dealings? Okay, great. That's the asset protection side and the insurance side of what's going on. Well, how do I further protect my income? Well, I'm going to have a mix between my passive income, which is from like dividend producing assets or otherwise passive income, like real estate or ATM machines or whatever. That oil and gas investments are great right now too, to do that. And then I'm also going to have separately as my active income, which is like all the money I'm making in my business. Because I know the businesses will have up and down cycles. I can't really control that, but I'm going to make my lifestyle match my passive income. So that way my lifestyle and the way my life feels every day is consistently good. Right. And it's only improving as I can increase my net worth. And so it's these like little subtle disciplines that come into place that I was like, man, these rich people got it figured out. They're like, not all rich people, but the rich ones I respect are figured out because they said, man, you've made life into a band where it's always just as good as it is now, or it's getting better, but it's not getting worse. And I was like, that is smart because we are happy as individuals if we can protect everything that we built and align it appropriately. Because imagine how much more easily you rest at night when you can say, I know that tomorrow and next year is going to be better than this year. I just know it because the system will always deliver that result. And that's what really smart thinking is. That's really what the real rich people that I admire. And I'm not talking about rich. Some of these guys are only like worth like maybe $1 million, $1.5 million. You know, they're not like boom rich, but they're thinking rich and they live rich. And that's really the difference between what you get with people that are like, oh, I got 50% on this one flip. I was like, no. I want to see like, what is your total return in passive income off of your net worth? Are you at 6% return on your total net worth? Because that's really impressive. I don't care about a 50% one-off deal. I want to know what's the system of wealth that you're using. And it all begins with the infrastructures of your insurance and asset protection, in my opinion, and tax.
I'm very similar in why I like talking this with you for sure, is people are saying, oh, what, you have a 7, 8, 9-figure business. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. How much are you keeping? Because I've seen people that have, you know, really great money going through their hands, but they're not keeping anything. And you're like, well, technically they're a 7-figure business, but they are not actually, they don't have the right disciplines. And they're like Amazon sellers, for example, or something like that.
It's not what you make, right? It's what you keep, right?
Yeah.
And whether that's going to be like your financial discipline, whether that's making sure to protect yourself from lawsuits, whether that's your appropriate tax strategy, it all comes down to like the financials. And in my mind, it's always like, it's top line revenue coming in, but how much money do I have left at the end of each quarter to make in new investments that are going to kick off to me more passive income? Because then the game becomes really easy. All I got to do is I go make money. That amount of money is going to result to this much money that I have left over. This much money can get motivated into oil and gas investments because that's what I'm really pushing my money into right now is existing wells in oil and gas. I'm in real estate in that sector. And then being like, great, well, that increased my passive income by $300 a month. Well, guess what? Now my lifestyle just improved by $300 a month. I know that doesn't sound huge, but you keep stacking these like month over month. And then pretty soon you're like, holy smokes, man, no matter what happens to me in my life, I can buy stuff, I can sell stuff. My business can go up, it can go down, but my life itself is actually stable. And when you have that stability in your life, that's where you really get to really rest easy. That's when you get to really say, hey, cool, I can really know that I can just go spend the time with my family. You know I can just go do the things that I know are going to be rewarding for me in life, whatever those might be. And it all comes back down to the income and how secure that income is. And the best way to secure that income is protecting that tax, asset protection, and insurance, as you know.
And that's income investing, right? Instead of investing for, is Tesla stock going to do great tomorrow, or,
Oh yeah, your
Netflix
crystal balls.
yeah, Netflix, and people are scared about that today. I think investing for income as a business owner, that's something that we can control, or at least do a little better at understanding, and learning how to read P&L statements. I mean, I hear people saying all the time, business owners, I'm not good with money. I don't understand it, so I'll just make money. And it's a make and keep money is the thing. And understanding, again, having a good attorney and a good foundation in place is so you can keep more money. And it's not just chasing that rate of return, because the Wall Street is going to tell you, well, keep going after this, keep doing this. Whereas maybe we need to build again the foundation. That's kind of our still method. Set your sights, track your in and out, inspect your progress, look for 1% adjustments, and live deliberately. Living deliberately is the last L. That's setting up a good LLC structure and having the right paperwork in place. So that way you don't get screwed whenever somebody slips and falls on your real estate property, right? Because it's probably going to happen.
Well, statistically, it's going to happen, right? And the question always is coming to mind is, I always come back to is that question of do you want control? Because there's a way that you can buy control over what your future looks like. And that's what these things are, right? That's what insurance is. And that's what asset protection really is about, is can you buy control? Is it affordable? And is it manageable? And so that's really the crux of the questions we looked at, is how can we help as many people as possible get to financial freedom that are real estate investors, other types of investors, and business owners. As we said, well, that's really the crux of it, is how do we make the very best solutions affordable for everybody, easy enough to manage that they can self-manage it, and that they also have a holistic support team in case they need it. So they have a single source of truth. Because as you know, one of the hardest parts of this whole thing is just actually being able to say, who can I trust, to be able to actually understand how all of the puzzle pieces fit together. And that's why I built Royal Legal Solutions, was specifically to be able to solve that problem in the world.
Yeah, and I think that's the power of this. And I'm not a tax person, but I understand a lot how taxes work, and understanding how those decisions affect future taxes or any of that. And how do we integrate these kind of things, and having the right people on the team who understand those things and play well with each other. And that's why I love, again, what you're building and how this lays into it. Because having the coaching team in place is going to help you go farther, I think, instead of just doing it on your own. I want to show them your website too, because I think there's a lot to it. I'm going to add it, and it's going to look a little weird for a second. But just so you know, guys, I'm on one screen right now, so just bear with me here. But really, what I wanted to show was the website, because you have a full video, and I just watched it earlier, that really breaks it down. So if you guys go to royallegalsolutions.com, I mean, literally, I think this should be behind a paywall because of what he provided here in this video. So again, go through this video. I'm not going to play it, but really, there's a lot that he put into this thing.
To be clear on that too, to let everybody know the backstory behind, it's a 41-minute video. And what it is it walks you through all of the asset protection strategies, how that works with insurance, compartmentalizing the assets, separating out your active business, your operating company from your asset holding company, and all the different types of liability that come through. And what I did was I said, well, what is, after doing, thousands of these consultations with entrepreneurs and investors, what were all of the questions and all of the frameworks of thinking that need to be communicated? And how can I get that down into as short a time frame as possible? So it's incredibly dense, right? It's highly instructional. It moves pretty quickly through all the material. So a lot of people need to watch it 2 or 3 times to really grab a hold of it. But I guarantee you that if you watch that video, you will be in the top 1% of who is knowledgeable about how asset protection, tax, insurance, and your business integrate together.
Well, and as I was watching it, I'm like, man, I learned some of this along the way, and this broke it down in a lot less time. Because again, I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm not an attorney, and I don't play one. My wife is more of an attorney than I am, I would say. Not that she even has anything. She's going for a CFP, but having the right people in place, understanding it enough to be able to know who to trust and build into my practice is key. And so for everybody listening, please watch this video. If you're a real estate investor, listen to this. He has some great stuff, again, that I think should be behind a paywall. Anything else you want to share on the site?
Yeah, I would really just say it's and kind of wrapping up here is that like the best thing to do to like move forward, if you're anybody that has assets in your personal name, including your primary residence, right,
Hmm.
is to reach out to us and learn about what things you can be doing to better protect yourself. Whether you have like a business or you have any assets in your personal name, even your bank accounts in your personal name are at risk if you're actively engaged in business, right? There's some
Yeah.
real just base hits, just hitting singles on this stuff that's really easy to do and really straightforward. All of the education we give is always for free, as you can see from that 41-minute video, right? I'm in the game of saying like, how can I make it as easy as possible for you to learn the most you possibly can? So that way you don't even need me if you don't want to. And you only give
Yeah.
me and this company $1 if you actually want us to build stuff for you, right? But you get all the education and all the support in there for free on what is the right stuff to do. Because our goal is how many people can we help to financial freedom? That doesn't mean we have to help every single one of those. All those people necessarily have to pay us to do that. So what I'd say for everybody is if you go to royallegalsolutions.com and you check out that video that we have there right on the homepage, and then just schedule a time right underneath there. There's a scheduling link to be able to schedule a time to talk to one of our advisors. And then that person will be able to help you get to all of the best materials that we have that are for people that are just like you, right? So I have like 2,000 hours of video content. I have 11 ebooks. I have a huge amount of education that I've produced out there and given away for free. It's all there on the website, but you might not know exactly how to get to it. Well, great. That's a great place to go connect with the advisor. Let us learn a little bit more about you, where you're trying to get to, and pair you with the right education so you can save all that time. Usually within like 2 to 3 hours of study and combined with one of our advisors, you're so clear about what you need to do next that you're ready to either take action on it or you know exactly what it is you need to be doing, even if you're not ready to take action at the time, right? So I would recommend for everybody to go to the website, watch the video, and then schedule a time so you can start getting some personalized educational support with what we know helps people establish best practices on the foundations of their wealth building, the foundations of their businesses to keep things protected, because otherwise you're running that risk of losing everything from a single lawsuit.
Right. Well, and I know I have work to do, right? As I was watching and doing all this, we're business owners. We're kind of building the ship. We're trying to work through it, and we all have things we can be working on. And so just going through that, I'm like, oh, yeah, we need to do that. Oh, yeah, we need to do that.
Oh, and it's so easy too. I got like 4 attorneys on staff. I got a team of like 10 paralegals and a huge support staff. So our ability to be able to do done for you solutions. I'm like, oh, I see this. I just need to do this, this, this. You're talking about like just maybe like 1 to 2 phone calls to be able to get aligned on the strategy. And it's like a 6-week build cycle to get that integrated and get you educated on how to use it. So it's not just doing the building, but educating you how to use it at the same time. With there that we found is really important, because what we really want, Brandon, for you and for everybody else that's out there is the ability to not just have the things built, but understand how to use them, but also the ability to leverage through an existing team, but also the ability to manage things if you want to, and to whatever extent that you feel like you want or need to. It's highly flexible, but also fully supportive.
That's what I like about the infinite banking strategy. And what I would like to do is, like, as I educate my clients and help them, it's saying, okay, it's great, but how do you leverage and use it? How do you understand the tool that you are participating in to build more wealth? And that's the power and why I like some of this, is saying, okay, you have the tool, but if you don't use the tool, or if you don't know how to best leverage the tool, then it's, just sitting on the shelf, right? So how do we think through strategically, whether it's infinite banking, a properly designed LLC, all those other things, and then learn how to generate the wealth, get out there and make some sales, right? And make sure you make quality sales and not find somebody who's going to screw you, right? That's why you have Scott here, for us to make sure you don't get screwed. But it's going to happen as you go to bat more often. Cool. Well, Scott, any last words? Anything you want to share? Any quick mic drops?
Yeah, no, I really say like the best thing to do, guys, is to go to royallegalsolutions.com and go ahead and watch that video and schedule a time. Just go ahead and schedule a time right now to speak. Hold that accountability. It's probably in your life you've been thinking like, man, I've really been wanting. I know I need to be doing something with my estate planning. I know I need to be doing something with my LLC structuring. I know I need to be doing something with tax, and I haven't been doing it. Well, this is a great time to do that. Hold yourself accountable to taking those next steps and let us be able to support you in that. The only way we can do that is if you go to royallegalsolutions.com and book a time to speak with us and then invite us to be part of your partner with you. We are happy to partner with you to hold you accountable on the education side, to not have that have any expense for you, and to help you just move forward and be clear and confident to do that. But for us to be able to do, our ability to be able to support you is limited by your ability to take action. So you have to take action to it, to go to royallegalsolutions.com and book one of the open appointments that we have.
Awesome. Well, Scott, thanks for joining me here. Thanks, guys, for being here and listening. Again, the reason we put this stuff out here is so that way you can build the proper foundation so you can build wealth. It doesn't have to be just Jeff Bezos who's taking advantage of these kind of things. It doesn't have to just be the rich, right? Learn from the people who are actually doing it. We did a podcast episode just the other day. The most profitable businesses in the world are banks. Don't do what the banks tell you to do. Do what the banks do is something we think about. So understanding and learning from the people who are actually doing it and why are they doing that? Don't just say they're evil people because they've set up good, properly designed legal structures that protect them. But say, okay, what can I learn from that and how can I be better? So with that, thanks for joining us and we will see you guys next time.